for those of you who don't know, I used to be a very, very severe alcoholic, and I've gone to rehab twice. And I've been thinking about that a little bit, and kind of the experience of the whole thing. I kind of wanted to share some stories, if you will. Some of them are a little bit funny. Now, my time in rehab, it was not always fun, but some parts were a little bit fun. Um, so I guess I'm gonna start getting into that. Um, let's see, the first time around, right? It's my first time going there with a bunch of new people. I had no idea what was going on. Went in there, just sort of didn't really know what to do, you know. And a couple of people started talking to me, you know. Yeah, and then you start, what are you in here for? What's your drug of choice? That sort of thing. So, like alcohol, yeah. And like other people were saying, heroin, shit like that, crack cocaine, you know. There was a lot of alcoholics in there too. Um, and so I was like, all right, started. I mean, I don't know, there are activities you could do, You played like a lot of card games and shit like that, but I don't know. My thing is, I just wish we had more to do there. So if anything, it was just like too much free time. Even though we had groups all day and stuff, we would have to like go to these groups, and the groups are fun sometimes. When you got somebody that actually wanted to be there, because there's people from AA and NA would come tell their stories to the people in rehab, and you could tell who wanted to be there and who didn't. I think some of them are court mandated to like I don't know come there, speak to people, something like that, but. Yeah, like some people were just, really good at their storytelling, right? And a lot of other people, weren't. And you could just kind of tell, like, and you could tell in the rehab too who was there for, real help and who was there just because they were homeless, and they just needed, a place to sleep and eat, whatever else. So, I mean, so that does happen, especially in Buffalo, where I am. So yeah, my thing is, the groups were, most of them were not helpful very much. But I mean, some of the stories were kind of cool to hear here and there. But yeah, I mean, so the first time I went to rehab, I got really sick, right? And then I recovered from that. I had like a head cold from being around so many people. And after I got over that, we had to move the rehab from one end of the hospital hall to the other. So we were wheeling all the beds out, and we were taking all the tables, all the chairs. We had to drag them all over. Everybody had to help. I was like, holy shit. It was crazy. Here I am, like, withdrawing from alcohol, like, oh yeah, this is what I want to do. But, no, I mean, it was a little crazy, but, yeah, then after that, I sort of settled it in, I settled in. It was okay. But, but the second time, that was a little crazier the second time around, if I do say so myself, because a few incidents happened. The main one, and I really want to get to this one, a person that knew somebody in the rehab, like someone that was there for rehab, not worked there, but was there to get help. So they just walked up to the floor we were on and walked right into rehab. And he had drugs on him, and he was offering his friend drugs while he was in rehab. And the guy himself was on drugs too, so he wasn't like aware of like where he even was. And the whole thing was like insane. I was like, okay. And the guy, yeah, he just walked right in, and like the nurses didn't notice him. Nobody noticed him. And I don't know. He was like, talked to his friend. The friend's like, oh no, I don't got money right now, whatever. And then so the guy leaves. And then everyone's just like, wow, what the fuck was that? What just happened? And there'd be people trying to like smoke cigarettes in their showers and stuff. And I was just like, why would you risk that, you know? But I don't know. Because they catch you doing that shit, you're out. But, you know. And I gotta admit, the food wasn't half bad either. I don't know. Some of it was okay, right? But yeah. I mean, people are trying to smoke in their rooms and then cover it with like some kind of spray, deodorant, something. And just like it oh my god. So stupid. Oh man. And then people would actually sneak weed in there every once in a while. And this was back before it was legalized here in New York. So it was pretty interesting, you know. People would find ways to get it in, you know. People would bring alcohol in. What they would do is you could have people visit, and you could have them bring you things, you know, snacks and you know, toiletries and whatever. So people would ask for like, you know, mouthwash and stuff. So the staff would have to make sure there's no alcohol in the mouthwash. You know, it's got to be alcohol free, and then sure you can have it. But yeah, you know, shit like that. And then they randomly drug test you the whole time you're there too, which is another fun thing. You know, they say it's like a random drug test, but I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Either way, I got tested a few times. You know. Which obviously I didn't do anything wrong, so I got through it just fine. But some people got caught, and you know, they had to get kicked out. You know, same thing with the cigarettes. You know, they find out about the cigarettes, you're gone. You know, so some of those people, you know, they just didn't make it through. And then there's other people that, you know, obviously didn't want to be there. You know, either they were court mandated to be there and they'd rather just go to jail instead, or you know, like somebody sent them there, and they're just not into it. They're not serious about it. You know, they don't want to change. You know, and then those people just eventually just storm out. You know, they get into it with someone else and blow up, and then they use that as an excuse to just, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go do my drug of choice now. You know, and go relapse right away. Because like I don't know, it's crazy. Like these people have no like. And as a former addict, I know this as well. That we don't have very good instincts when it comes to like you know. I guess what I could say is we're too impulsive, right? We jump at things too quickly, but without realizing what we're doing. And I'm the total opposite now. On you know, because I smoke weed, and that makes me think more before I do something. So. That's a great trade that I made, from being super impulsive to not impulsive at all. It's very nice to have that. So yeah, but yeah, these people, I mean, and you could tell, like, classic drug addict behavior, you know, they were trying to scam you, shit like that, you know, like, oh, I'll give you, you know, my, I'll give you my fucking bagel for your fucking, you know, caffeinated coffee. Oh, caffeinated coffee was another thing. That was like a coveted thing in rehab. Like we'd only get it pretty much only in the morning, and then in the afternoon and dinner and all that we would have decaf. But yeah, sometimes you know in the mornings we'd have caffeine, and then people would just be like extra crazy that day, obviously, because they just want something to tweak on, I guess. You know, the crackheads maybe, but I don't know. But either way, it wasn't all bad, you know. I mean, learned a lot of stuff. But the one really crazy thing, where you had to be really vulnerable, you had to like speak in front of everybody about like your past traumas and how your drug of choice led you to be in rehab today, like where you are, you know, kind of like your lore, if you will, like your history, and that was like the toughest part for me. It was really tough to get in front of a room full of, you know, like, I don't know, it was 20 of them, whatever. And actually just like, you know, be vulnerable in front of people and be like, oh, you know, all this abuse happened and, you know, this and that, and then I'm talking about, you know, trauma bullshit, right? But I guess that's part of the healing in a way. But I don't know. I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, I did relapse after rehab. So like, did it work for me? Not exactly. It helped me from It helped stop me from drinking every day, and that was like a first step. But think the counseling really got me through it the most. The after work counseling that I do. So, I mean, but hey, I know it works for some people. I also have never been to AA at all. So, I mean, it just wouldn't be my cup of tea. I know it. You know, and it works for a lot of people, and good for them. Sometimes you just gotta go to rehab. That fixes it. You go to AA. That fixes it. But a lot of people, man, they just give up. You know, and it's bad. You know. But I found my own way through it through counseling and through harm reduction by smoking weed. So that's pretty lucky for me. Right? So, but at any rate, rehab's not all that bad. But I will say, when I first got there, it did suck, not knowing anybody. But a few days into it, you start talking to a few people, you start getting more comfortable. You're like, okay, this place isn't that bad. It's not like a fucking prison. Where people are gonna start, fist fighting for no reason. People aren't that unhinged. But maybe some yelling, screaming. Maybe at the most like a chair will be thrown or something. But then it calms down pretty quick after that. So person's usually kicked out and moving on. But either way, that's my experience with rehab, and a couple stories for you. Hopefully you enjoyed. See you next time.